Hey everyone, I'm Mind, and this is set number 75352, Emperor's Throne Room Diorama from the LEGO Star Wars theme. This set contains 807 pieces, 3 minifigures, and will retail for $99.99 in the US. This set does not officially release until May 1st, 2023, but it was sent to me early by the LEGO group through the LEGO Ambassador Network, but all opinions expressed in this video are my own. So here's the Death Star Throne Room Diorama, and I am a very big fan of the diorama sets. I loved the first wave. I felt like it was really a step in the right direction for LEGO Star Wars, but now having this one, I think this might just be my favorite one yet. They just fit so much here on this little diorama plate. They capture the scene so perfectly. Now, because this isn't a playset, there's not as much to show. It's a lot of just what you see is what you get, but there's a lot of really cool building techniques and whatnot, so let me show you what's here. The base of the diorama is the same as all the others, with the silver grill plates on it, but then front and center you have 2 printed plates. The first one comes in all the diorama sets and it just says LEGO Star Wars, but then the second one is of course exclusive to this set, and it has a quote from this scene in the movie. In the case of this set, it is, "I am a Jedi, like my father before me, Luke Skywalker," which I think is a great choice for the quote here. And then something kind of cool that both this set and the other diorama released alongside it have is yet another printed part right here for the 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi. I'm really glad that's a print and not a sticker, and definitely helps make this set feel extra special, though if you don't like it, of course it's LEGO, so you can just remove it. So starting off at the front of the throne room, we've of course got a few brick-built barriers on the side, as well as these round glowing blue pieces of technology. These are iconic parts of the Emperor's throne room, and I never knew exactly what they're meant to be, but regardless, I think they're built pretty well here. They incorporate into the build pretty well. The only annoying part is trying to line up everything and make sure it looks perfect, because like these blue parts can fall out of place, so that's something to be aware of, but dioramas are meant to be put on display, so honestly it shouldn't be a huge deal. Just get them right once, and then you shouldn't have issues in the future. But other than that, there's just this huge platform in the lower level. It also implies there's more stairs leading down, though of course the diorama cuts off right there. And you can see there's 2 jumper plates right here, so while I have Luke and Vader fighting up here, if you want to move them down, you can. There's also a small little secret in this section of the build. You see, you can actually take this part of the floor off, and underneath are hidden 2 lightning pieces. These are of course for Emperor Palpatine in this set, because they're just connected on clips, so you're able to remove them and use them as accessories in Palpatine's hands if you wanted to. I'm happy those are included, because of course while Palpatine doesn't use lightning in the exact moment of the scene that the diorama is based on, he does use it very shortly after, so I'm glad that option's there if you want to recreate a slightly different part of the movie. And then you have like these giant stairs leading up to the Emperor's throne. I absolutely love how wide these are. I think this is the first time we've gotten a properly minifigure scaled version of this scene, because while the scene has been made a few times, it's always been somewhat downscaled, made into a playset. There was a very downscaled version of this scene in the original Death Star set back in, 2008, and then in 2018, and then later in, 2020, they've remade this into a much bigger set, but still not fully minifigure scale, but this seems pretty much to scale of the movie, though obviously it does not cover as much of the scene as the playsets did, because the playsets weren't as to scale, nor were they as full as this build. One little thing though is I like how there's gaps between the stairs, and while it's very shadowy, you can still see the supports to hold it up. We'll actually take a look under the diorama in a moment to see how that's built, but even just taking a quick look in from the side, you can see the designer still took the care to make sure the underside of this diorama was built correctly, even if from most angles it's not super easy to see. Then of course that leads you to this upper level, where you can see I have Luke and Vader fighting, but of course if I remove those figures, there you can see they connect on just 2 jumper pieces, but they use flat tiles for almost the rest of it, though there are still a few studs on the side. I like that. It helps capture that like flat industrial feel of this location in the movie, while also still somewhat keeping the LEGO feel by having a few studs all throughout, so that way you still have places to put minifigures, but the build still seems very smooth as you'd imagine the inside of the Death Star to be. But then we get to the absolute best part of the build, and that's of course where the Emperor's throne actually is. He's inset into this like giant ring build right here, which I absolutely adore. This was easily the coolest part of the set to put together. With all of this like texturing and greebling, there's a sort of polygonal shape to it. It's not entirely circular, but I love how 3-dimensional it is, with some plates being outset, some being inset, and then a few little studs all throughout, yet it still feels very smooth. Each individual subsection transitions into the next very nicely. I'm actually going to also remove the outer shell for a moment, because you can see there's actually a brick built archway that all that is attached on top of, so it all just comes together to create such a unique shape, with really amazing dimension to it. Yeah, the way this all connects is super impressive, almost doesn't feel like LEGO. But then coming inside this little area, this is where Palpatine sits. He's of course got his throne right here, and it's able to swivel, so he could be looking out the window like this, or facing Luke and Vader like this. And of course if I remove him from his throne, there you get a full look at it. You can see the back of his seat actually has purple on it, which I'm not sure if this is movie accurate. I don't remember what the throne looks like without Palpatine on it, but it adds a nice splash of color to the build, which I really like. I don't think purple's out of place for Palpatine. But yeah, just like with a lot of things in the set, this is easily the best that this throne has ever looked. I love all the different curves on it. Honestly, it just looks really comfortable. Like, I would sit here. But no, just like taking a look at its silhouette from the side, you can see what a great job the designers did on this. But then we come to this window out the very back, which is another super cool part of this build, because you can see that throne's really inset in there. Like, from this front archway, there's a good bit of dimension back until we get to that window. And you have like all these smaller windows around it. Well, I'm going to turn this around and take a look at it from the back. So now you can see how it's actually put together. Just lots of these individual window pieces that actually connect together two Lego rubber pipe pieces. You've got a smaller rubber pipe on the inside, and then a larger rubber pipe on the outside. And each of these little window subsections, they have clips on each end that connect the two pipes to each other, and that keeps them in this circular shape, while also looking fantastic from the inside. I will say from the back, it does not look nearly as good as it does from the front. However, this diorama is really meant to be viewed from the front. And honestly, if you want to make this look a little nicer from the back, it probably wouldn't be too difficult to do. You'd probably just want to cover up some of these studs. And then of course you got this big printed window piece in the center, which I have to believe is all new for this set. Again, awesome this is printed. This would be a nightmare to put on as a sticker. But you may see, this actually isn't connected in any way. It's just sort of laid in place. So because of that, it is a little bit loose. So it's another one of those things like if you're planning to play with this set, it may be a bit annoying how this might get dislodged sometimes. However, the point of this set is not to play with this. It is meant to be a diorama. So if you just have this on display, just orient it correctly once, and then you don't have to touch it. And yeah, it looks really good, especially from the front. And that's about most of the build of this thing. Let's take a quick look at the underside. You can see there's 4 total support beams holding up the stairway, just like it would be in-universe. So even though this isn't really seen, this does still fit with everything else, which is something I appreciate. But yeah, I think that's about all there is to the build. I really do think this one is fantastic. Now, is it worth the money? Well, I'll talk about that more at the end of this video. But first, let's take a look at the 3 minifigures that come in this set, and then I'll give you my overall thoughts. So here's the first minifigure in the set, an all-new version of Return of the Jedi Luke Skywalker, who, for the first time in over 20 years at this point, has an all-new hairpiece. This is surprising to see because Luke has stuck with the same classic Lego hairpiece for ages. In fact, I thought they were never going to update it because when they updated all the other characters' hair, such as Han Solo, they didn't touch Luke's hair at all. But no, they finally made an all-new hairpiece for Luke. And I have to say, I mean, it's pretty darn good. It captures his hair from the movies pretty perfectly. I love, like, the longer waviness of it all. Looks a bit funny from the back, but I think it fits. But yeah, especially seeing it from the front, looking at it on top of that headpiece, it feels pretty much straight out of the movie. It captures Luke's look so well. Never knew I needed this, but I'm glad it's finally here, because that is a major improvement. Now, while that hairpiece is new, the rest of this figure is not. That torso piece is the same exact one that came in the last 2 versions of the Death Star throne room. That face print's been around for a little while too. And then, of course, he's still sticking with no leg printing, which honestly is a little bit surprising, because if they're going to update the hairpiece, I'm surprised they didn't add leg printing as well. Not that I think this figure needs leg printing, I mean, plain legs are perfectly fine. But yeah, if they're going all out by, like, updating the hairpiece, I'm surprised they didn't do that as well. Torso design, though, I think is fine. I mean, it captures the movie appearance pretty much perfectly, but I don't know, as someone who normally reviews Ninjago where everything's very colorful and highly detailed, this torso does feel a bit more plain to me. But in terms of representing the movie, yeah, I mean, this is pretty much perfect. I'd say they've almost perfected this figure. The only thing that can make it better is maybe a little bit of leg printing just to add a little bit more detail, but honestly, I don't think this guy needs it. He comes with a green lightsaber, of course, and then removing that hairpiece, you can see his alternate face, where he's just got a slight smile. I'll show you that with the hairpiece on too. Yeah, I think that looks really good. This guy's an all-around great minifigure. I'm glad they finally updated that hairpiece, but I don't have a ton else to say on him. And then the other 2 minifigures in the set are Darth Vader and Emperor Palpatine, and these are both very similar to ones we've gotten in the past, but Palpatine is technically new and exclusive at this time. From what I could tell, this is exactly identical to his previous figure, but they just got rid of the black pupils in his eyes, which was an interesting decision that I think actually works pretty well. Definitely makes him seem way creepier and less human. And this version of Vader is not new for this set, however, he is new for this year. It's the same version that came on the TIE Bomber, but that's the same exact version that came in many other sets, except for the face print. The face print's all new for this year, but it does come in one other set. But yeah, starting with Vader, I mean, yeah, they've pretty much perfected Vader at this point. He's got like that 2-part mask piece, that arm printing, which I'm really surprised has become so common nowadays. Like, I fully expected that to be exclusive to big sets, and then for them not to do arm printing in smaller sets. But no, it pretty much seems like every Vader since that arm printing's been introduced has used it, which I'm very happy to see, because I think it looks great. It makes these figures feel so elegant. That torso design's great too. I love how the robes continue down from the torso into the legs, and then like the little splashes of color on his control panel look fantastic. The use of metallic silver with the gray is really great too, because when looking at it head on it might look pretty flat, but then when you reflect it in the light, it's clear the difference between the silver and the gray, which definitely makes this figure look extra nice. And then of course you can take the top piece of the helmet off, there you can see his full face print, and the bottom piece of the helmet's still on, but that gives you a look at that face print that was introduced with the TIE Bomber. And this face is similar to his previous one, but he seems to have like an angrier scowl on his face, and all of like the little burn scars on his face have darkened. In the previous version these were a little bit more red, while now they're a bit more brown, and you can see that continues with the rest of the scars around the back too. Both these figures use the spongier cape, and then flipping it up there you can see the back torso print, which again looks really nice. He of course comes with his red lightsaber as an accessory, and then finally we come to Palpatine, which does fit the character, but it just means I don't have a ton to talk about with this figure. Again though, I like how the robes drape from the torso into the legs, and as I mentioned, the removal of those pupils does give this guy a more sinister feel. Turning him around, flipping up that spongy cape, there you can see that very minimal back torso print, and then removing his hood piece you can see his alternate face, where once again same as the old version though with the pupils removed, but the level of detail there is amazing. I like how his brow is furrowed, all of like the little wrinkles and scars on his face, and then there's a better look at that front face print with the hood removed. Yeah, I feel like they've gotten to the point where now they've pretty much perfected this guy's face too. Now something I think is important to mention is Palpatine does not come with his lightsaber in this set, which on the one hand makes sense because he never actually has his lightsaber in Return of the Jedi. However, previous versions of the set have included it still, so it would have been nice to see, but at the very least you do get the lightning for him, which you saw earlier in this video. So overall, would I recommend this set? I do really love this set, but I have to say it is pretty expensive. $100 is a pretty high asking price, because while this does look fantastic, it is the exact same price as the previous throne rooms, and while those definitely were not as nice looking, they had a lot more to them. A much bigger section of the build, more minifigures, more accessories, more play features, so I do wish there was maybe a bit more here. I get that by making it like actually properly to scale, it's only going to be able to capture a much smaller section of the overall area in the movie. However, I don't know, something that would be nice to see is, for example, like extra minifigures. Like, for example, I think it would have been nice if this set came with 2 royal guards like previous versions of the set had. Is it necessary for the diorama part of the scene? No. But like the trash compactor diorama came with C-3PO and R2, even though they're not exactly necessary for the exact part of the diorama that set's capturing. So I don't know, like throwing the guards in here would have made this feel a little bit more worth the money. If this set was like $80, I'd be like, yeah, 100% I recommend it without any thought. But at $100, honestly, it's up to you, because $100 is a lot of money, and while the set looks fantastic, if you want to just get as much stuff as you possibly can for your money, there's definitely better options out there, especially if you already have previous versions of this set. So I would say I'd recommend it, but it's just definitely not for everyone. I think it's a beautiful set overall, definitely one of my favorite dioramas, if not my favorite. It's just got a pretty high price, and I feel like they could have done a little bit more with the minifigure selection. However, I will say I do appreciate getting the new Luke hair, and the new Emperor face is cool too. But yeah, I think they definitely could have made that minifigure selection a little bit more desirable. But of course, those are just my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think of this set in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye!